Howdy.
Hi, it's Anton.
Hello.
Hi, everybody.
Hello. I don't know about you, but I'm glad it's almost Friday. It's been a week.
I'm going on a month. I'm glad you're only having a week.
Oh, geez. It's been a 3 months.
There you go.
I'm pretty tired.
Camera's not on yet, but I don't know. Sound like I don't know really what you're talking about.
Jessica, can you hear me? This is Tim Roberts.
I can hear you.
Well, I think I have a quorum and we have a short agenda. So unless there's any objections, I feel like we should get started, which really is Jessica kind of going through everybody and seeing who's here. So we might as well start that process. And then as people join, you can just check them off the list. So you want to start going through everybody, Jessica?
Sure, that sounds good. So, going down the list of everyone I've seen so far. Let me just double check. Okay, so Matt Pettit. We've seen Tim Roberts, Victoria, Anton, Aaron, Brandy, Karen, Dole, Darren Horstmeyer, PPACG staff. So is there any TAC members that I did not call that are present?
Andy Steckline with CDOT's here.
Andy Steckland, CDOT.
And Wendy,
Yes,
Thank you, Wendy and Andy.
And I might have ignored you, but I'm here.
No problem. All right, so it looks like you have your quorum. You should be fine to go. Just everybody remember, if you're presenting, to make sure to use really good descriptions. Not everybody can see what you're talking about all the time. And if you make a motion, if you'll just do me a favor and say your name so that I catch those properly. Thank you.
Thank you, Jessica. We've called it to order. We have a quorum. I think Jessica did introductions in a roundabout kind of way. So I could get a Is somebody talking? Sounds like someone's trying to talk, which I find odd because most people are muted. So any idea what that is, Jessica?
There was one person that was not muted. I think that might have been your feedback issue. So I'll keep an eye on it. And
Okay.
okay, it sounds okay now.
Yeah. Can I get are there any comments on the agenda first? Can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
I so moved. Anton.
Tim Roberts, second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the agenda. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, any opposed? So moved. Public comments. Are there any comments from the public for items that are not on the agenda?
Hey, Brandy, this is Victoria. I don't have any items not on the agenda, but sometimes I run the meetings and I vote by abstention. So if you do not object, your silence is a yes. Sometimes can make it a little easier, and you won't hear my dogs barking anymore.
Okay, yeah, and we can do that. It looks like Jason trusted everybody, so I get that. Right, unless I hear a loud objection, I'll take the few people that chime in, and we'll go from there. Any other comments? Does anybody have any comments on the minutes? Can I get a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved. Tim Roberts.
I'll second. This is Karen.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The minutes are approved. John, I have two options. Either you're back in your office or you've decided you're going to dress up at home. Could go either way, but if you would mind giving us the board of directors report and possibly maybe a status of PPACG, and if you have plans going forward, if you know something that we don't know that you've talked about with the governor.
Okay, so first things first, yes, I'm in the office today. I had another appointment, doctor's appointment, just down the street, so I figured I might as well do the meeting from the office. But we are not back in the office at this time, so I think this is the first time I've been back in 3 months. Item 2 that you mentioned, the board of directors report should be short unless anyone has any questions. The board had 2 action items. Approval of tip amendment number 1, which you recommended approval of, and doing the approval of the multimodal options fund, which again, is the list that you recommended approval of. So anything in that first tranche of multimodal options fund can move forward. And 3, as far as July meetings, we're looking at sort of doing a hybrid of allowing some meetings to take place in July, but only the smaller ones. TAC is one that definitely could meet in person if you wanted to. However, I think we're flexible in that we want to leave it up to actually you, the committee, to decide if you want to get together and meet. Things like the workshop for the 3.3 million of SDP Metro that we're going to be talking about here in a little bit, as well as the second tranche of multimodal options fund. If you want to have that workshop in person, certainly can. But that being said, if we have meetings like today, which if you guys get into a big argument about stuff, could be a 2-hour meeting, or if everyone's in agreement, this could be a half-hour meeting. And I hate to make people drive long distances for a half-hour meeting. So it's up to you guys, but I think unless we have a real sort of meaty sort of thing, my recommendation to you all would be to do July remotely as well. But if you all don't want to do that and want to continue to, and want to try to meet in person, we can look at that. But right now, I think we're sort of doing it case by case, committee by committee. And if you're all amenable to it, we'll just continue to have July be remote.
Does anybody have any feedback on, let's start with the July meeting. Anybody have any comments on that?
I would love to still hold meetings in July remotely.
Yeah, concur.
Okay.
Me too.
Anybody disagree? The dogs. Okay.
It sounds like the dog wants to.
Duly noted.
All right, so the dog will meet in person, but the rest of us will. And that's for the July. As far as the workshops for the upcoming funding, should we assume that will be remotely as well? We're okay with that. I think the last one went fine personally, but if anybody had an issue with how that worked, we can.
I think we should be okay to do the workshop remotely. Does anybody else have any opinions on that? I think that's a yes from Victoria. Otherwise, if we turn around, the dogs will say no. Yep. Okay. That for July, we will be doing everything remotely.
Perfect. Thank you.
Does anybody else have any questions on the Board of Directors report? Okay, we will move on to item 6, the STP Metro proposed schedule. Catherine?
Hello, good afternoon. Catherine Wenger, Transportation Planner, PPACG. So as you probably already read, I sent out an email a couple of weeks ago that CDOT has informed PPACG that we have an additional $3,339,754 that are in our SDP Metro funds. They're available to program and now. And so what we'd like to do is send out, as we usually do for any extra funds that come to the region, a notice of funding availability and do a cost overrun or call for projects with the short questionnaire that we send out asking for people to submit any funding needs. And so what we'd like to do here is to discuss the proposed schedule and potentially if you all would like to allow new projects to apply for these funds as well. That being said, if there's enough money requested for cost overruns and that's the tax priority, then there's no need to let the new projects apply, but we wanted to bring that to you just in case that might be needed. And so real quick on the proposed schedule would be today you would approve it and then the call for projects essentially would be open. I could send out the email today and you all already have the preview of the questionnaire. the applications would be due on the July 6th, and then we would hold the STP Metro or this workshop the same day after the MMOF workshop. So we could kind of do them quickly back to back, or maybe not so quickly depending. And then that would get it so that we could get it into the July TAC agenda, TAC and CAC, and then we could get board approval of both STP Metro and MMOF in August and make sure these funds get allocated quickly. So with that, open for any questions or discussion for what you all might think about.
So this is Wendy. I have something to share with you. So I had a meeting with DTD and OFMB this morning about the 21 to 24 budget push so that I could give you an update on where we think funding is at this point. For fiscal year 2021, it looks like there's another $600,000 that's available based on the budget push. I'll give you the exact dollar amount. It's $654,155. But also keep in mind that we don't know what kind of reductions there might be coming from the federal side of things. So up to you whether you want to add that into your call or not.
And Wendy, is that Metro money?
It is.
Yeah, why not?
Well, I just think at this point, if you take everything that's there and the purpose of this is to be able to utilize the toll credits, we don't want to give someone not give someone an opportunity that did exist, but we just didn't act upon it. So that was just kind of my feeling about it. Eric Richardson, do you have any words of wisdom that might help us guide our decision on this, adding this or not adding this?
I don't have any words of wisdom.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
I don't have anything for you, sorry.
Okay, I was just curious if maybe you had heard something or from the, through the grapevine or whatnot. So I just wanted to make sure I asked that question before, that way at least we're giving them all the information that we have. So with that being said, I guess it's up to you to decide how you want to handle that.
Hey, Wendy, what's our worst case scenario? Let's pretend that we put the additional 600,000 in. Do they just come in and take it out and then we have to cut back X number of projects to make up that 600,000?
Correct. And the thing is, since you have funding tied to the infra projects, your other projects would be the ones that are going to be at risk. So the infra projects would have to be kept whole to keep that project whole with that in that process. So I just want buyer beware. That's all I'm saying.
I mean, but this money is not optional, right? I mean, it's coming to the region no matter what. And it's,
I don't know that, Tim. That's what I'm trying to say here, because
gotcha.
Right now we know that this is what we expect to get for 2021, but we won't know that until FHWA gives us some idea after. It may be as late as September before we know anything with FHWA. I don't know when that will happen. So there could be reductions in the federal funds due to the COVID issue as well. So we won't know that until they have an opportunity to do that reconciliation.
So would it be best to just wait until that's actually happened to see if it's 600,000 or zero?
But in this respect, if you have a project that can't go forward because it doesn't have the funding to do the match, then you lose the opportunity to do that now and to keep it moving. So I don't know where the happy medium lies, but I wanted to make sure that you were aware of the fact that the 600,000 was there.
Okay. Does anybody have a project that is dead in the water without an extra $600,000?
Yes. In fact, I would almost suggest, why don't we follow through with our standard procedure, our Metro call for projects for those projects that have overruns, and then we see what the balance is. If we have money left over, then we can kind of further this discussion.
Anybody else want to weigh in on how we tackle this?
Tim, question for you. Is this a new project or an overrun project?
Overrun.
Oh, okay. I guess I would say then let's just add it in since it's an overrun project. Because I will tell you, we were looking at applying for the whole 3 million to help us match the I-25 gap. But I don't think I have enough local match in toll credits to do the other 600,000.
But that's not meeting the current PPACG policy of a project shortfall, right? Or is that an eligible?
It is an eligible expense as an overrun. We already worked through PPACG on this and with CDOT, and it is eligible for the cost overruns.
Okay. And that's
I would agree with what Tim said. We should, proceed with what we have and what Victoria said by adding it in and just see what happens. I would not like to wait for September to find out what to do with this.
And then Wendy, again, I'm sure you and the rest of the group know more about this. Let's pretend that they take away our 600,000. What happens then? Like, do we get to decide how we figure out where that fund comes from, or is there a specific pot that they're going to go after first?
Well, no, if there's some sort of rescission on the funds because of COVID-19, then what they will do is they will give us what that dollar amount is. And then as an MPO, you'll have to decide where that comes from. The only caveat that you have is that you have the infra grant. So you need to make sure that we keep that project whole, and some of that money is in 21, so.
Okay, so basically we can't take it out of that project is what I'm hearing.
Correct. I would say probably that's correct, yes.
We also then wouldn't be able to take it out of build for that highway.
I'm sorry, I meant build, not infra. I'm using the wrong term, I'm sorry. It is
Gotcha.
build. You're right, thank you.
That's fine. You usually know more than I do, Wendy. So
Oh my God, there's so many acronyms, there's so many processes.
Okay, and that's fine. I figured it was maybe something you and Victoria knew about that I hadn't heard about, which is why I was just going to ask enough questions to understand it. So if it comes back up, then I'll know which direction we're going.
It's
I'm
build.
curious,
I'm sorry.
Are there other entities or agencies that are going to be have projects that are short?
This is Sally. When we were able to include the Highway 67 widening project in the TIP for 2023-2024, we did not get the full 80% that we were hoping for. So I was going to try to submit a proposal as well to help make up that difference, if it's appropriate.
Just as an item on that though, these funds are 2020 funds, or which will be 2021 coming up. Your project sits in 23 and 24, and so that would be a few years out. Not to say that that's not necessarily eligible, but I think that these funds need to be spent as soon as possible.
Okay, thank you for that clarification, Catherine. I wasn't sure.
Yeah, I agree with Catherine. They do need to be spent as soon as possible, because the last thing we want to do is start rolling money from year to year, especially in bad times, because we know what happens. I would mention that, Sally, that if the 23 is still within the time frame where, and this is an existing project, that you should reach out to Eric Ekbar at CDOT about toll credits. And that might be something that would be helpful. They want to use toll credits for the new stuff, that it hasn't been programmed yet. But since this is an existing, that is something you could at least have that conversation with.
Okay, appreciate that advice.
If I heard Tim and everyone correctly, the way the committee would like to move forward is add the 600 and something thousand onto the 3.3. So roughly about a $4 million call for projects. You'll go with the schedule that is in the memo, and you will stick with the existing policy and procedures and have it be existing projects only. That will be the priority. Is that what everybody wants to do? And if that's the case, I think we can make that happen.
That's my preference, Victoria.
I believe that's the case, and I'll move that we support and accept recommend the schedule as presented with the new dollar amount of just under $4 million.
This is Sally, and I'll second that.
This is Brandy, and I'm gonna ask a question. Does anybody need to, for whatever reason, take anything to their boards or councils or anything? Or can they just 2 weeks from now basically work for their timeline?
I do have to take my application and resolution to the board, so I will need to have it to the board on this Tuesday, so in a couple of days. But if no one else has any struggles, I am prepared to try and make that work.
Great.
Okay, yeah, no, I think we should be okay. It's usually those with the longer lead time, which is the county, so as long as you're okay, Victoria.
I'm not okay, but I'll make it work.
Okay, you're okay enough.
If anybody can, you can, Victoria.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the schedule for this item. Make our meeting extra long on the 8th. Catherine, are you gonna send out a meeting invite, maybe to bump that up a half an hour? I don't know. You have it for an hour and a half now, and that was for only one item. I'm hoping we can do it in 2 hours, so maybe you want to bump that up to 2 hours just so it's on everybody's schedule.
Sure, no problem. I'll update that to reflect the 2 meetings and the time.
Okay. We're adding in the $600,000, so you'll send us out that new dollar amount. And it's for existing projects only, as defined by Wendy.
Sounds good. I will make sure all that's in an email it sends out with the questionnaire, and then send out the calendar invite update.
Okay. All right, we have a
And
motion.
Catherine, request.
Oh, Victoria?
Sorry, question for Catherine. Is it possible, and everybody else, to make that meeting a little earlier? Because I'm trying to get to another PPACG meeting that it overlaps with. So add your half an hour on before the meeting and not after.
What time is that at?
It'll start at 12:30.
That works for me, because we're still doing this virtually, right? So
Yep.
no issue with a room.
Does anybody have a real lunch date that day?
No.
That's funny.
My dog will be disappointed.
Yeah, that works for me.
I'm sorry, could you clarify what the date would be for that meeting?
It's July 8th, Wednesday. Right now it's scheduled for 1 p.m. in the afternoon.
No issues on my side.
Andy?
I'm good.
Sally, you good?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, I'm not hearing any objection. So if there's no objection, we're gonna meet at 12:30 on the 8th of July.
Thanks, I'll appreciate it.
You're welcome. All right, now we have a motion, a second, and a new start time for the meeting, but that's not in this item anyway. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we are golden. Item 7, information items, CDOT updates. Whoever wants to jump in first from CDOT, the floor is yours.
Go ahead, Eric.
Yeah, I had a couple of minor things. Just so everybody's aware, we're looking at a Dole grant MAMSIP kickoff July 13th in the Springs, and unfortunately it's going to be restricted to only a few VIPs. That doesn't include me. But it's going to be restricted, but we're going to be able to possibly have Senator Gardner there, and maybe the Lieutenant Governor as well, and some other folks that might be available. So it'll be a pretty significant event for the region. And then we had a press release today on the $4.1 million in multimodal options fund money that is going to be available for improvements in public space for pedestrians and bicyclists. It'll be a little bit of a grant program, and I think administration is still being worked out. But some municipalities in the state have started creating more space in the public sphere for restaurants to have tables outside, either on the sidewalks or in parking areas of streets. Some towns and cities have actually closed part of their streets as well. So there is an avenue there for money for locals who actually would like to engage in that in this era of social distancing. And that's about all I have.
On what Eric had mentioned, I just got a press release from CDOT, Jess Bechtel, and asked her to send that out to everybody, so you have more information on that. It's that $4 million grant program, in case there's anybody here that wants to take advantage of it.
So this is Wendy. To build upon that, if you are interested in using your street and your street happens to be a state highway, you have to get special permission to be able to do that type of a setup. So you'll need to be in touch with our traffic department to probably Valerie Sword to get to the right place to get your permit to do that. And I guess we've been told at this point that staff who can work from home should continue to work from home until around Labor Day. We also had the adoption of the 21 to 24 STIP, which goes into effect on July 1st. And with that being the case, that's how the different funding sources were trued up and put into the process. So PPACG, as far as I know right now, has a shortfall in STP Metro in 2023. I haven't seen the 2024 numbers yet, so I don't know exactly what that's going to look like for 2024, but it's about $70,000 and $70,000 and some change in 2023. I have an idea about how to go about fixing that, but until I see 2024, I don't want to create work twice for naught. So until I can get that part of it worked out, then I'll be back in touch with details so we can go forward with getting that back into fiscal constraint. And we have a change to the Transportation Commission chair, starting with the July fiscal year. So the new chair will be Karen Stewart and the vice chair will be Kathy Hall. And that's all I have. Lachelle or Junior or Matt, do you have anything to share?
This is Lachelle. I'm good. Thanks, Wendy.
I don't have anything.
I'm good as well.
Wendy, I have a question.
Okay.
Karen Stewart?
Yep.
Where is she from?
I don't have any idea, to be honest with you. That those people have changed places and chairs, and all the old folks that I was really familiar with are all gone, but I can find out for you and have John send that out to you because I don't know.
Wendy, she's from Broomfield,
Oh, okay.
Okay.
and Kathy Hall's from Grand Junction.
Thanks,
Okay.
Eric.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other comments from CDOT or questions for CDOT? Okay. Item 8, member entity announcements. Any big announcements from anybody? Okay, well then I'm going to ask a question. Sounds like CDOT's going to start potentially opening up at the end of the summer. What about the other entities? City of Colorado Springs, County, Monument, Palmer Lake? Have you guys discussed when you're possibly opening things back up? Manitou Springs? Anybody?
This is Sally. I'll start. We are open. You just have to wear a mask to City Hall and practice 6-foot separation.
Same with us in Manitou.
Yeah, the county remains open. We're just working remotely. In fact, we're looking to enhance that and continue it. So there may be a lot more opportunities for county folks to continue working remotely. So I would be interested as we go forward, looking at what opportunities there may be to continue having these PPACG meetings continue to be remote. Because there may be times where we may be in the office one day a week. So something to consider. Thank you.
Yeah, and go ahead, Brian.
Okay, thank you. So, yeah, and like the others, you know, the city's open. We opened some of our customer service activities several weeks ago, and I think in another week and a half or so, on the 29th, you know, we're scheduled to go to kind of a 60% staff level. So for transit, that's I don't know, 16, 17 staff or so out of 33 or whatever. So that seems to be the course we've been on. Like every 4 weeks or so, we ratchet it up. And, you know, we still do have quite a few people that are working remotely, and but a lot of us others are, you know, in a day or two a week, or, you know, few hours, several days a week. But yeah, we're all getting it done very remotely, and sometimes with people in the office. So.
Thanks, Brian. And kind of the reason I asked the question is to cue in PPACG staff. Can we do a Zoom meeting? Let's say eventually half of us are able or want to come into the actual building whenever PPACG begins to open up. Is there a way to have a camera that catches us like we are here, and we can project that, record it, and then have the same interaction?
So actually, we have been talking about that, and for those of you who know Jenny is working on the technical issue with Jess Bechtel, who is on the call, and they're sort of working out some different things. One of the things that we had suggested is, to the extent you all have either laptops or iPads, if you brought those in and connected into our Wi-Fi, you just have to have it on mute, so we could still catch your speech through the microphones, and we don't have a echoing effect. But that would be the way we could still have a camera on all of the different participants. That being said, as far as what else is out there, I think Jess and Jenny are still sort of tackling the problem, and whether or not we'll be able to have multiple cameras if you don't bring them with you is still up in the air. Probably not. I think we've got the one angle there that sort of shows the whole room, and that would be one of them. But again, if you all sort of bring your own accounts and log in, that would give us the multiple cameras. But we're working on that, and yes, something into the future, we're looking to make sure that we always have a hybrid. Even after all of this is over, we definitely want to start making sure the meeting is accessible for folks, well, with the MPO, you know, Woodland Park is the farthest, but for the COG, obviously we have folks in Park County. We want to make sure that the COG meetings where we have the Park County folks, that they're able to participate in a meaningful fashion, regardless of the pandemic. Does that answer your question?
Yes. Jessica, did you have anything to add? I didn't want to cut you off.
Oh, no problem. So we are actually working all of that out right now. We are going to be adjusting the meeting space so that it's properly distanced apart. That's happening early next week. And we are looking at technology options right now within our meeting space. And what it'll probably look like when we go to hybrid meetings is the main screen is going to look like your Zoom screen, basically. So that way, if people are joining the meeting via Zoom, they'll still pop up and we'll see them as a group up on the screen, and we'll still be able to share the item. So it should work fine. And I think that's an option we're trying to work out this month as of July. I know that PPRTA is pushing for in-person meetings this month. So they're kind of the test subjects on making sure everything works. We'll work it all out before they get going, but yeah, that should be not a problem here come July, August. So probably August for you guys, but yep.
Okay.
For guinea pigs or lab rats, but if you want to call it that, but whatever.
I'm being careful with the health wording, the way we're doing things nowadays, especially with all the test screening we're going to have in place before you can even come in. It's kind of crazy. So we got a big handy dandy thermometer on hand and stuff now. I don't know if we'll go that crazy with it, but you never know. But we are just trying to be safe and follow all the CDC guidelines and everything that we're supposed to do. We follow the county and the city a lot on what they do, and we look at how the commissioners are running their meetings and city council and whatnot, and we kind of follow suit with them. So we are exploring those options right now of how we're going to do it. So far, Zoom's worked really well, but we're going to start moving towards having the smaller groups be in person if possible.
As the person who travels the farthest to the meetings, I love the idea of a hybrid. So if we can continue to do Zoom and add that to the in-person meetings, that would be wonderful.
We're hearing that a lot now, so I think it'll probably stick around, and will probably end up being brought to the board, I'm sure, later for permanent solutions to this.
Yeah, down in the city of Fountain, we have the screenings when you come in and you have to check your temperature. Even with all those precautions, I'm not sure what happens down there, but we keep having employees show up that are sick, and you have to like physically send them home, and then we have to fumigate the whole building. So at the moment, I'm much safer sitting at home and just driving from place to place. I would say one of the biggest problems is, for better or worse, we're now used to actually physically working from like 8 to 5, and we don't get that commute time. So one of those things is, if Sally's doing that, I mean, there's more that she can do. And I think the rest of us are, I think our bosses are like, well, you're getting so much done. I'm like, yeah, well, now if you want me to actually go to a meeting, that's time that I'm not going to be working. So I think that's one advantage to working this out. Again, it'll be back-to-back meetings for the rest of the community, basically. But hopefully in time we'll transition back, and then only if it's bad weather, inclement weather, we can all go back to normal. But only time will tell. Anybody else have any announcements, comments? Items for future TAC meetings, Catherine?
We'll have the MMOF approval and SDP Metro approval, hopefully, after that. So that's all I have so far.
And I think we're going to have some roll forwards too, Catherine.
Most of the roll forward should be able to go through as administrative, since
absolutely
the policy, but sounds
absolutely.
Okay, if you need anything from us, Catherine or Wendy, just let us know.
Okay.
I feel like I'm sure Catherine's pinged me for something about 2 weeks ago, but heaven only knows what that was. Anything else?
I will stress, I think Catherine sent out sort of the list of the roll forwards. Was it yesterday, Catherine? If you could take a minute just to look at that. No, was it 2 days ago?
I haven't sent it yet. I was sending it today.
Never mind.
I sent them a bunch of other things, so I wanted to give them some time.
She sends me a lot of stuff. But when she does send it, please take the time to look at it. You're sort of our double check. We just want to make sure that we're catching everything, and it's such a sort of weird process with everyone sort of doing something different in different places. We just want to make sure that everything is caught, because if it's not, and it's not part of the roll forwards, and we take that money and then we re-spend it, and then someone needs to go back and get it, it could be a real problem. So please take the time when she sends that list to double check that everything you think should be on it is in fact on it, to make sure that we don't have any issues. So.
After that is done, Catherine, and you have confirmation, then I'll go back and I'll double check it with what I have. And then that way we can be on the same page, and I'll get that information back to you and to Lachelle and her group. And on another note, I think I found a way to be able to get us the end of the year ledger next week, as I promised you. So that should be coming hopefully by the end of the week. So I think it's Tuesday that we have our final budgeting done. So that way we're done for the year, to be able to know what the balances were in that each of your coffers. So we should be good to move forward.
All right,
Thanks,
that sounds good. Okay, going once, going twice. Anybody got anything else? All right, I think we are adjourned. Thank you for your time, and we'll see you on the 8th.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.